Likkutei Sichot, Volume 2, for Parshas Vayeilech and Shabbos Shuva, page 111. Have you davened yet? No. Okay. פרשת השבוע נאמר לקוח את ספר התורה הזה ושמתם אותו מצד ארון ברית השם אלוקיכם. In Parshas Vayeilech it says, take this book, this Sefer Torah, this scroll of the Torah, and put it near on the side of the ark of the covenant of Hashem your God.
You know what they used it for? That was the Sefer Torah the king used for Hakkam.
Probably not.
I'm sorry. The one that he gave to the Levine.
What?
The one he gave to the Levine, the one that wrote on his last day.
Oh. There were three Sifrei Torah always that were considered to be Sifrei Torah that were written by Moshe Rabbeinu. In other words, it's not that they were actually written, but they were copied from the Sefer Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu wrote. And he used one of them. I don't think he used the one that was in the Holy of Holies. Where did you see that?
Whatever I thought, it was the whole evening of the Hakkam was a mini Kabbalah Torah.
Mm-hmm.
It was a rerun, once every 7 years, to give me every 7 years. So it's what Moshe Rabbeinu said for Torah. And if the Rebbe writes it as such.
Again, there were three Sifrei Torah at any given time that were supposed to have been copied from the Sfarim that Moshe Rabbeinu had written. He wrote 13. He wrote one that was put, this is the one that we're talking about now, that was put in the ark, or near the ark, as we'll see the two opinions. And there was one that he gave to each one of the tribes. Ostensibly, the one that was in the Holy of Holies was the one that belonged to the tribe of Levi. Okay. But in the Talmud, it says that there's two opinions regarding this book, this Sefer Torah that was put in the ark. So one opinion there says that this Sefer Torah was put inside the ark with the tablets. The second opinion says it was put
on a ledge
next to it, on a daf, it's called.
A projecting base.
Okay, so really today we call it a shelf.
Oh, you could if you want to use very fancy English.
Yeah, shelf. So there was a shelf that was underneath the Aron Kodesh, underneath the ark, and on that shelf were three things. What were the three things? The Sefer Torah, Aaron's staff, and the container with the manna in it. Okay. But according to both opinions, the Sefer Torah was placed in the Holy of Holies. Meaning in the Holy of Holies, there were placed the tablets, which has letters that are engraved in the stone. And the Sefer Torah, whose letters are inked on the parchment. Otiyot ktiva. They're written letters. So we have two types of letters, engraved letters and written letters. They were placed together in the Holy of Holies. So what we need to understand is, why is God specifically saying now to add the Sefer Torah, which is written ink on parchment, written letters? Why is he telling us to place it in the Holy of Holies? What's the connection between the lettering that is created by adding to the parchment, and why does it belong in the Holy of Holies?
It's logical to say that it was the Sefer Torah that was used by the king.
What?
It's logical to say that it was the Sefer Torah used by the king. Because the Sefer Torah has to be checked once in every 7 years, even Moshe Rabbeinu's Sefer Torah.
Sefer Torah has to be checked every Shabbos. Halachically, every single Shabbos, a Gabbai who knows what he's doing, he reads the Parsha before Shabbos. He reads it on Friday morning, Ma'avir et HaSidra, as they say, and only then is the Sefer considered kosher. Because otherwise, you're reading in the Sefer that wasn't checked. At least what you're going to read wasn't checked. You don't know what's happening before and after. But this is what you're going to read on Shabbos. So you want to find a mistake in the middle of the reading? No. So that's what you really have to do. I don't know what the 7 years is. Maybe it's a book that you never take out. Maybe that you also have to do once every 7 years. Right, but the tefillin you never take out. They're always inside the housing. In any case, let's get to the point here. So he says, why don't I ask the same question about the engraved letters on the tablets? Because because their connection, engraved letters, where you hew some of the stone out of the tablet, and that's how you create the letter, that has a well understood connection to the Holy of Holies. Because in the Holy of Holies we have the one example, the most important example, which is pretty much the one example of a state in which there is a carrying of opposites. There is a paradox happening. So what is the paradox that was happening in the Holy of Holies? That the Ark of the Covenant took up no space. Okay, and we've talked many times about what that means. You would measure from one end to the Ark, and from the Ark to the other end, you would find that it was 10 or 20 cubits, depending which direction you went. Sorry, it's always 10 cubits. Didn't matter in which direction you went. And the Ark itself, if you measured it, you would see it was 2.5 by 1.5 by 1.5. It had space. So how could it be? It's like it didn't take up any space. So we have here space that is paradoxically not in space. That was the miracle, the most important miracle that happened in the temple. That you saw that a finite space could act like infinite space. And that's what it means that this was God's house, as it were. That you physically saw a paradox happening in front of your very eyes, and so you understood that the infinite dwells within the finite. That was the point. The same thing was also true not only about the space in the Holy of Holies, but the time in the Holy of Holies did not function the way time usually functions. It functioned in a different way. And the two are related to one another. So anyway, that explains why there were engraved letters placed within the Holy of Holies, the engraved letters on the tablets. Because you see, in an abstract manner, it reminds us of the same thing, because the engraved letters, they don't add anything to the tablet, unlike when you write with ink on a parchment, where you're adding to the parchment. But when you engrave inside the stone tablet, you're taking away. There's nothing added. And yet, even though there's nothing added, you still see letters. So in that sense, it's similar. It's like a paradoxical miracle for poor people who can't see the actual miracle, right? Okay. That the engraved letters were different than the written letters, because the written letters are something that's added to the parchment. Especially this was true about the letters Mem and Samech, who stood by a miracle in and of itself. So it's an interesting thing. He's saying there's a paradox within this minor form of the abstract idea of space and what's beyond space happening together, and that was in the two letters Mem and Samech. And we know that these are the two letters, right, that have a hole inside, and so the hole somehow had to, the donut of the part that was inside had to somehow remain there, standing. And that was the miracle that they saw in the engraved letters. So that's why the engraved letters belonged in the Holy of Holies. They had a paradoxical state within them. But, he says, what's the deal with the Sefer Torah, whose letters are written? They are ink that's added to the parchment. Why were they placed in the Holy of Holies? And so that was section 1, and God willing, tomorrow we'll continue with section 2 and finish this Sichot, and then we'll see about the rest.
7:30.
7:30.